Alright guys, today we are going to react to the worst winter storms of Christmas past. Winter is getting close for you guys, and look, even I got this hoodie from Hurley. It's an American brand. Yay! Give me a few months and you're going to see me fully transform from South Asian to American at this point. Just give me a few months, and I have no idea how crazy these winter storms get over there, so let's just check it out.
Hey everyone, Steve here. Welcome back to Weatherbox. And today, in honor of the holiday season, it's gonna get a little cold.
Oh,
The odds of having a white Christmas vary wildly across North America, and everywhere you look, the data used to create maps such as this one is inconsistent at best. While it's true that you have less than a 5% chance of seeing snow on Christmas in Corpus Christi, it's not a guarantee that you won't. And with cyclical climatic factors such as La Nina, it does occasionally happen. Today, we're gonna look at some of the worst historical winter storms in the US that resulted in a considerably white Christmas. Now, this is not a comprehensive list. I have 7 diverse snowstorms here for you today, and if you think I missed an important one, be sure to share it with us in the comments below. First is the Denver snowstorm of 1982. Denver gets a modest amount of snow each year, about 55 inches total. Most of it actually falls in the months of March and April,
holy
but their
shit,
snowfalls are
55
usually
inches.
much smaller amounts spread over a period of about 6 months. When you look at Denver geographically, it's a very interesting feat that a major snowstorm could occur there. It's located on the leeward side of the Rocky Mountains, which is significant. Westerly winds from the Pacific Ocean flow up and over the Rockies, and the moisture leaves the air as rain and snow on the western side. This creates what is known as a rain shadow on the eastern side, which is where Denver is located. So in order to have a lot of snow drop on Denver in a short period of time, you need winds to blow out of the east. This can happen one of 2 ways. The flow of air around high pressure systems is clockwise, while the flow around low pressure systems is counterclockwise. So if there is a high pressure system to the north or a low pressure system to the south, winds will be blowing out of the east. The next ingredient is moisture that can condense and freeze into snow as the air moves up the mountainside. This is where the low pressure system has the advantage. The general weather pattern that causes this involves moisture surging north from the Gulf over the Great Plains. Then, due to the warm Gulf air clashing with cold, dry Rocky Mountain air, a mid-latitude cyclone can spin up on the border, which moves that moist air counterclockwise around the low center.
Wow,
This
okay.
moist air meets the cool air to the north, condenses as it rises up the mountain, and dumps feet of snow in the Denver metro. This is exactly what happened Christmas Eve 1982. What was forecasted to just be a couple inches of snow ended up as 2 feet of accumulation, with snowfall rates of 2 to 3 inches per hour on Christmas Eve. The wind chill
Damn, how did you guys even survive this? I'm complaining about regular cold here, and you guys were dealing with that? Wow.
caused by 50-mile-an-hour straight-line winds set at negative 35 degrees. Holiday travelers by the thousands were stranded at the airport for the entire day as 10-foot snowdrifts made travel around the metro impossible. As unexpectedly devastating as it was, there were many stories of strangers who were stranded who came together to help each other get back home on Christmas Day. So you see what can happen when a strong mid-latitude cyclone forms to the south of Denver in the middle of winter. But the mid-latitude cyclone is on a mission, and that mission is to get across the continental US. So, as you can guess, it causes a lot of problems for people in its path, particularly on that northwestern side. A prime example of this is the winter storm of late December 2004. Throughout
So I also got a comment that the northern part of the USA is highly likely to get snowy every winter. I think it's the Canadian border that gets snowy every time. I don't know.
these 4 days, 2 major weather systems collided to wreak havoc on the Ohio River Valley. First, you had a swath of Arctic air that was descending upon the Midwest from Canada. At the leading edge of this air mass, heavy snow fell in Minnesota and Wisconsin. But that pesky
Okay.
surface low of the same variety that caused the snow in Denver had developed over Texas. This thing flew to the east in 48 hours, gaining strength as it ingested moisture from the Gulf.
Denver is creating a lot of problems
That moisture was ultimately forced upward over the Arctic air, condensing into a giant diagonal line of snow, sleet, and freezing rain, a winter slurry that piled upon Ohio, Indiana, and Illinois over the course of 2 days. While Medora, Indiana saw a record 39 inches of snowfall, Ohio was decimated due to the ice. 678,000 residents across the state lost power, mainly in Columbus. The Woodland Meadows
So there was like power outage too. Can't believe, like, how did you guys survive this? Like, if there was power outage, that means, you don't have heater. You rely on like firewood. What the hell? How did you guys even survive that? Oh my god.
Division, which
This
was
is
one of
like,
the largest apartment
I can't do
complexes
this.
in the United States for government-subsidized tenants, was hit the hardest. Affecting over 1,000 residents, the power was cut for multiple days, the boiler system failed, pipes froze and burst, and basements were flooded. None of this was ever repaired, and a few years later, the city voted to demolish the deteriorating 122 buildings. For those not living in the apartment complex, travel was impossible due to the mixture of snow and ice, and hundreds of flights were canceled. Interstates I-65, 70, 71, and 74 were closed for over 12 hours, and hundreds of motorists were stranded on I-64 in Indiana for over 24 hours.
I mean, how could you drive on that road? Like, look at the cars, look at the number of, all the trucks and cars on the road.
The storm resulted
They are
in
all
$900
stuck.
million in damage and 17 deaths. So far, we have seen an instance of a surface low developing near Denver, as well as in central Texas. But how far south can these things bring snowfall? Could it happen in Houston literally the day after the snowstorm we just talked about? Yeah, 2004 was wild, apparently. After the low-pressure system exited Ohio, Arctic air spilled southward across the entire U.S. east of the Rockies. On Christmas Eve, temperatures were only in the mid-30s across central Texas, with the edge of the Arctic front sitting over Houston. And just south of that front, a surface low developed near San Fernando, Mexico, moving into the Gulf of Mexico. The temperatures were cold enough on that northern side that considerable snow was able to develop on Christmas Eve, dropping 4 inches of snow in Corpus Christi and a whopping foot of snow in Victoria. It was the first white Christmas ever for this area. Now, of course, all that snow melted within 48 hours because as that Arctic air lifted, that warm Gulf air came surging back. But what an incredible Christmas that must have been for southern Texans. Now, you probably have noticed a pattern here. These surface lows like to spin up along temperature boundaries on the southeastern side of a trough of cold air. Another place where low pressure systems like to develop is the Atlantic Ocean. Hell, that's what a hurricane is after all, just a very intense one.
Okay, guys, so all the technical information, it's going over my head. To be honest, I'm just wondering how you guys survived all of this. Please, I have no, I want to know about all of this, but I want to know the stories as well from you guys. I don't think this video has all that. I think it's mostly technical, but if you guys had experienced any kind of the storm, winter storm, I would love to know in the comments. It seemed like it's from 1989, it's from 2004 maybe, that you could share your experience about that. I would love to know, so please do that.
So picture this. A historic blast of cold air descends southeastward from Canada, covering the Great Lakes, the Deep South, and the Mid-Atlantic. What would happen if a surface low developed over the Atlantic, moved northward up the coast, right up against the cold air? If you guessed the largest snowstorm to ever occur in the southeastern United States, then you're probably familiar with the Christmas coastal snowstorm of 1989. The wave of cold air that covered the southeast was so potent that low temperature records were shattered. Houston Airport measured 7 degrees, High Springs, Florida measured 8 degrees,
Look at the
North
car
Carolina
that was
measured
sleeping.
7 degrees, even Key West hit 44 degrees. The cold wave devastated the vast majority of citrus crops across the southeast and even damaged agriculture in Mexico's Rio Grande Valley. Over the course of 2 days, 18 inches of snow fell in Wilmington, North Carolina, 8 inches in Charleston, South Carolina, 4 inches in Savannah, Georgia, and even flurries were spotted in Tampa, Florida. Lake Waccamaw to the east of Wilmington had actually frozen over, which was only the second time in the entire 20th century for that to happen. Now, Now, this storm was technically a nor'easter, which is what they call a winter storm in New England that involves wind blowing out of the northeast. It does this because the wind blows counterclockwise in low pressure systems, and when they ride up the Atlantic coast, the snow and moisture blow out of the northeast. Nor'easters can get bad, like all-time historic bad. Due to the relatively warm temperature of the Atlantic Ocean in close proximity to cold land, these systems can get very intense. One historic nor'easter that occurred around Christmas was in December of 1969. To add another layer of complexity, the system started off as a surface low that spun up on the border of warm and cold air in Texas, traveled 1,200 miles across the US in 24 hours, and once it hit the Atlantic Ocean, it turned northward and became a nor'easter. It picked up a ton of moisture along the way, creating an environment of intense instability, even dropping a few dozen tornadoes in the deep south. But by the time it reached New Jersey, it stalled out, and that was bad news for New England. Upstate New York, mainly the Adirondacks and Vermont, saw over 30 inches of snow. Montreal saw 27, and everywhere else saw between 10
inches
and
of
20
snow.
inches.
That is
Snowdrifts
huge,
were as high
right?
as 30 feet in some cities.
What
Boston,
the hell,
close
30
to the low
feet?
center, received 100-mile-an-hour wind gusts. The entire eastern half of the New York Thruway was closed on the 27th, deemed impassable. What may have been worse than the snow is the ice. Over 2 inches of ice accumulated on roofs, power lines, trees, and cars in Vermont.
Shit.
And the thing about ice, it's a lot heavier and denser than snow. Dozens of homes, industrial warehouses, and barns suffered collapsed roofs, killing several people and livestock. It was reported that this layer of ice stayed on surfaces for an entire month. While New York City escaped the brunt of this particular nor'easter, they're in no way immune to winter storms. Such is the case for the Great Blizzard of 1947. Because most weather systems in the US move from west to east, the Weather Bureau at the time had a system in place to identify and forecast weather systems that would strike New York from the west. So when an area of low pressure developed over the Atlantic Ocean and moved west towards the city, it took everyone by surprise. What was forecasted to be a cold day with flurries ended up as a non-stop intense snowfall with rates up to 3 inches an hour. These were huge snowflake clusters too, which meant one of two things. One, the temperature above the ground was near freezing.
I've never
and two,
seen
there
this
was
snow
very
in my
little
life,
wind.
except
This
in the
wasn't like the
mountains.
1969 nor'easter. It was a very peaceful yet heavy, crippling snowfall. Snowplows were not ready to go, and as a result, the 26 inches of snow that had fallen by the end of the day, December 26th, had stopped New York City. Across the way in New Jersey, it set the all-time record for most snowfall within a 24-hour period with 29.7 inches of accumulation. It's estimated that the unexpected snowfall was responsible for 77 deaths. We've covered snowstorms from mid-latitude cyclones and nor'easters, but there's one more important type of snowstorm specific to one area of the country: lake effect snow. I made a full video about lake effect snow a long time ago. Link is up here if you want to watch it.
What does that mean?
But November and December are usually the time when lake effect snow is at its peak. The Great Lakes are still relatively warm and unfrozen, and they can inject a lot of moisture into that dry, cold air, causing constant snowfall on the lee side of the Great Lakes. Buffalo just so happens to be in the exact spot where lake effect snow is maximized from westerly winds, and this can result in catastrophic multi-day snow events. This particular event was caused by a surface low that developed in northern Colorado and moved eastward on a trajectory that caused the Arctic air to blow at the exact angle of the major axis of Lake Erie. So in other words, directly parallel to the length of the lake, funneling the moistened air into Buffalo and causing 5 days of nonstop snow. By the end of the day on December 28th, 82 inches of snow fell at Buffalo International Airport. The normal snow accumulation for the entire winter season is 93 inches, so essentially the city saw almost an entire year's worth of snow in just 5 days. It blew all previous snow records out of the water. What's even more ironic is the previous month, November, was the first November on record that Buffalo saw no snow whatsoever. The city was declared a disaster area, and the National Guard was sent in with bucket loaders to help unearth the city. But because it's Buffalo and the people and the infrastructure are well seasoned for an intense winter snowstorm, the entire event only resulted in 2 deaths. About every 5 to 10 years, Buffalo has seen an intense multi-day lake effect snow event, and I'm sure you remember the one that happened this year in November as well. As for a white Christmas this year, we have several systems sweeping through the upper Midwest and Great Lakes region right now. So we'll see if we get that white Christmas. Real quick, I want to thank you guys for all the support this year. I remember we started off the year with 74 subscribers, and now we have a full-fledged community of weather nerds, and I think that is fantastic.
Guys, you have to subscribe me as well. I just have like 41 subscribers right now, and I expect more from you Americans. So yeah,
So thank you guys.
I'm
I hope you have a
hoping.
wonderful Christmas and a great holiday season. I will see you in the new year.
All right, guys, that was literally awesome. But yeah, I mean, those. All right, guys, that was really awesome. Like, not awesome as in like not in a good way, but man, those winter storms, like they were absolutely wild. I knew gets cold in the United States, but I didn't know that it got that extreme. And he talked about the most like dangerous winter storms. I want to know what it's like living in the other states as well, in the other parts of the United States. But it's crazy how you guys still go to work, do school, and also celebrate Christmas and just live life in a weather that could like shut down everything for a week or something like that. But watching this gave me so much more respect for the people who are dealing with winter. We have winter here as well, but it does not like snow at all. So it's like I think it's like a mild, it would be hot for you guys. So yeah, I mean, you guys are tough, man. Anyway, that was insane but super interesting to watch. Thank you for hanging out with me. Stay safe this winter, and I'll see you guys in the next one. For now, bye.